Good evening. Welcome to the National News Broadcast. I'm Kasani Balachandra.
I'm Movin Hettiarachi, and here are today's headlines. The Kandy Asala Festival ends successfully. The President says there are many national duties and responsibilities that could not be abandoned in the face of challenges and obstructions. Provision of 2,000 rupee allowances for families which were deprived of livelihood begins. The week of inoculation of COVID vaccine to persons above the age of 60 years has commenced today. The court grants permission to record a statement from a detainee regarding an alleged death threat on a physician by parliamentarian Rishad Badruddin. Australians protest over the act to lock down the country. Australian and New Zealand leaders acknowledged that the lockdown of their countries wasn't effective.
Moving on to those and other stories in detail. The final Randoli Perahara of the Kandy Asala Festival has paraded the streets last night. This year's Perahara Festival was conducted without people's participation and according to health guidelines. The Nadungamue Raja elephant carrying the sacred casket of relics in the final Randoli Perahara has set foot on the Sandagala at the auspicious time of 6:44 p.m. yesterday. Attention of many spectators was focused on the scene of Tusker Raja arranging the floor carpet with its trunk upon arrival from Vahakada of the Sri Dalada Maligava and setting foot on the Sandagala. The two elephants that accompanied the casket in the final Randoli Perahara were Vasana of Ruhunu Mahakataragama Devala and Indiraja of the Sri Dalada Maligava. The Perahara has proceeded along Dalada Street, Yatinuvara Street, Kandi Street, DS Senanayaka Street and returned to the original location via Queen Street. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa and Madam Ayoma Rajapaksa have watched the final Randoli Perahara from the President's house premises in Kandy. The processions of the four Mahadevalayas, Natha, Vishnu, Katragama and Pattini have also paraded the streets in a colourful manner, highlighting the cultural features. The casket of sacred relics was brought in procession according to ancient traditions from the Sri Dalada Maligava to the Asgirigarige Raja Mahavihara midnight yesterday. Thereafter, the water cutting procession of the four Mahadevalayas travelled to Gatambe of Mahaveli River. The Sri Lanka Navy has extended assistance for the water cutting ritual. All activities have been conducted according to health guidelines. Later on, the water cutting Perahara of the four Mahadevalayas has reached the Ganadevi Kovila and engaged in religious observances according to ancient rituals. The Perahara of the four Mahadevalayas of Natha, Vishnu, Katragam and Patini has commenced from the Ghanadevi Kovila in Katakale. The Perahara has joined the Sri Dhananda Maligava Perahara near the Askirigedige Raja Mahaviharya. According to the ancient traditions, the Perahara casket placed at the Askirigedige Raja Mahaviharya was brought to the Sri Dhananda Maligava. The Singharaja elephant of the Sri Dhananda Maligava has carried the casket of the day Perahara. It has left the Askirigedige Raja Mahaviharya at the auspicious time of 1:42 p.m. and arrived at the Sri Dhananda Maligava after going 3 rounds around the Maliga square. The elephant has arrived at the Maligava at the auspicious time of 3:27 p.m. and this has concluded the Kandi Asala Perahara festival. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa says there are a host of national duties and responsibilities which are unable to be withdrawn even amidst whatever challenges and obstructions confronting the country. He adds that foremost among such commitments is the puja dedicated on sacred tooth relic of the Sri Dhananda Maligava. Rulers of the island nation since the ancient times had placed confidence on such an offering. The President has made these remarks at a ceremony at the President's house in Kandy this evening, held to convey his message that the historic Dhananda Perahara festival has come to a successful conclusion. It has been a ritual since the historic times to hand over to the head of state of Sri Lanka a memorandum stating on the successful conducting of the Kandi Asala Perahara according to ancient traditions. The Kandi Asala festival is considered as the colourful cultural festival of the nation. Going by the tradition, Diyavada Nilame of the Sri Dhananda Maligava, Pradeep Nilangadala, has presented to the President a Sandesha which has confirmed the successful completion of this year's Asala Perahara festival as well according to the tradition. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa has symbolically treated with fruits the Banda elephant on behalf of all elephants which took part in the Perahara. Thereafter, the President has posed for a group photograph with Basnayaka Nilames, including the Diyavadani Nilame, and government officials who have extended direct contributions for the conducting of the Perahara. Diyavadani Nilame Pradeep Nilangadala, upon presentation of the memorandum, has extended thanks to all groups, including the government, for extending support for the successful holding of this historical Dhananda Perahara amidst the COVID pandemic. The President said on this occasion that he considers any commitments made on the sacred tooth relic are commitments made on the entire country and the nation. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa said that whatever challenges and obstacles befall on the country, they know that there are a number of national responsibilities and duties entrusted upon us that should be fulfilled. The President has further stated that since ancient times, Sri Lanka's rulers believed that the performing of respectful rituals to venerate the most sacred tooth relic should be given utmost priority. He added that even amidst the COVID-19 pandemic, they were able to preserve the ancient tradition of holding the Dhananda Perahara festival this year as well, with great respect to carry forward this important tradition to our future generations. Government officials headed by President Secretary Dr. P.B. Jayasundara have also taken part in this ceremony.
Meanwhile, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa attended the Sri Dhananda Maligava and received blessings yesterday. The President and Madam Ayoma Rajapaksa were welcomed upon arrival to the Dhananda Maligava by Diyavada Nilame Nilanga Pradeep Dayala. The provision of 2,000 rupee allowances has begun today from Kotte Divisional Secretariat Division. The government says the allowance is being provided for families who lose their source of livelihood as a result of the lockdowns and is carried out with the objective of controlling the spread of the COVID-19 disease. A program to distribute the allowances was organized at the premises of the Siri Siddhartha Rama Mahaviharya premises in Nawalakote. A group including parliamentarian Madhura Vithanage took part in the event. Another program was conducted at the A. Darbury Community Hall in Narahimpeta today. Organizer of the Colombo East of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramana, Devika Matararachi, was among those who attended the event. One such program was also held at the Ilukwatha Gramaniladhar division in Kalutara. A ceremony to hand over the 2,000 rupee allowance has also commenced today from the Bandaragama Divisional Secretariat Division. The house-to-house campaign was taking place according to health guidelines.
The week to inoculate all those above the age of 60 years with the COVID vaccines has commenced today. The Ministry of Health says that therefore all those who are seeking to get vaccinated should get themselves registered without delay. The telephone number 1906 remains open for registration. A communique issued by the Department of Government Information today says that it has been established that the majority of those who died due to COVID infection were above the age of 60 years and those who have not received a single dose of vaccine. Therefore, it further points out that inoculation for elderly persons is mandatory. The department adds that one of the main objectives of imposing a quarantine curfew is to direct all those above the age of 60 years to vaccination. Any person above the age of 60 years who has not yet received a single dose of any type of vaccine is able to receive vaccination by giving a telephone call to the medical officer of health in their respective areas. Those who are unable to contact themselves with the MOH could send SMS through WhatsApp messages. It has also been pointed out that such persons living near Colombo City are able to inoculate themselves at the Vihara Mahadevi Park or at the Diyatuyana premises in Battarumulla. The Sri Lanka Army has also made arrangements to inoculate continuously those above the age of 60 years and those with special needs through its mobile vaccination program. The program is currently underway in the Kandy and Jaffna districts. The people in need of receiving the vaccine should register themselves at the National Operational Centre for the Prevention of the COVID-19 outbreak through the telephone numbers 0112860 or 1906. Mobile vehicles of the Sri Lanka Army were engaged in vaccination programs in Wadua, Moratua, Gampaha and Deulapitiya today. 10 vehicles have been deployed in the mobile vaccination program. A door-to-door vaccination program for persons above the age of 60 years and persons with special needs in the Thalava Divisional Secretariat Division Office area in the Anuradhapura district has also commenced today to joint collaboration of the Sri Lanka Army and Health Divisions. The Army has also helped to vaccinate persons with special needs at the Home for the Aged in School Lane in Venivalkola, Kahatuluwa area. The event has been organized by the Kahatuluwa Police Station. A mobile service has also got underway today to inoculate senior citizens in the Kotagala Medical Officer of Health Division today. The Mathura district program to inoculate persons above the age of 60 years who have not received any dose of vaccine has commenced at the Bibulavela Purana Vihara in Kambarupitiya today. Vaccination programs have been conducted in 5 locations in the district. Administering of the second dose of the Moderna vaccine on persons above the age of 30 years in 12 Grama Seva divisions under the Pasbage Koralam Medical Officer of Health Office in Navalapitiya was conducted at 2 centres today. These centres were the Navalapitiya Central College and the Anuruddha Primary School. A mobile program under the sponsorship of the Sri Lanka Army was conducted today for residents in Andaniya in Badulla above the age of 60 years and also for those who are with special needs. The second dose of the Sputnik V vaccine were delivered at several locations in the Kundasale electorate in the Kandy district today. The second dose of the Sinopharm vaccine was inoculated on pregnant women in the Bandaravela Medical Officer of Health Office. So far, the people of Sri Lanka have been inoculated with doses of vaccines of 17,761,535 under the COVID immunization program. 1,194,964 vaccine doses have been given to the people during the last 7 days. 52,417 doses of vaccine were provided yesterday. 76,050 doses of the Pfizer vaccine manufactured in the United States were brought to the island at dawn today. Meanwhile, the Chinese embassy in Sri Lanka, issuing a Twitter message, says 3 million more Sinopharm vaccines were scheduled to be brought onto the island before the end of the month. Accordingly, 1 million doses of the Sinopharm vaccine are scheduled to be delivered to the country tomorrow. A stock of clinical oxygen ordered from India were brought to the island in the Shakti vessel of the Sri Lanka Navy midnight yesterday. The stock to be unloaded at the Colombo harbour is around 40 tons. Meanwhile, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa, as instructed by Navy Commander Vice Admiral Nishantha Ulugethanna, to expedite the process of bringing oxygen supplies to the country. 3,223 COVID-19 patients were detected from the country today. Meanwhile, 2,222 patients left the hospitals today following recovery.
The president of the Association of Specialist Family Physicians, Dr. Malkanthi Galhena, says that approximately 80% of the COVID-19 patients are directed to home quarantine will recover without any complications if they strictly complied to the medical advices. The consultant family physician said that the patient home isolation and management system will be further expanded to treat including increasing number of COVID-19 positive patients in the country.
Ministry of Health, with the collaboration of GMOA and the Bank of Ceylon, started this home-based care for the COVID-infected patients who got mild symptoms or no symptoms for last 2 months. We started this to Western Province initially, and now we have expanded this service island-wide, and 22,983 patients have been seen up to yesterday, and yesterday the active patient number was 8,124, and among these total patients who enrolled up to yesterday, we have hospitalized only 356 patients with no deaths. Almost 80% like the patients will recover without any complications if they comply with the correct medical advices. As well as very important to say that all the patients who get the difficulties in breathing or other complications of this COVID illness will be identified early by our very much trained medical team under the supervision of consultant family physicians who are working in the Ministry of Health. So far, it's a safe patient management had been done, and my experience is patients are very happy about this service because they stay at home on their own environment, but we consider the isolation facilities which the patient need to be separated from the family members. They must have separate room and separate washroom facilities. It's a must. The Ministry of Health is ready to face to the challenge because the patients are increasing so much. So we are getting ready to expand our service with the increasing number of patients as well.
Now, the Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison says that the country must start to learn to live with COVID-19 when higher vaccination targets are reached, despite concerns in some states about the impact of a surge in cases in Sydney.
You get to 70%.
With over half of all Australians trapped in weeks-long lockdowns to curb the highly infectious Delta strain, Prime Minister Morrison said the country had to move forward and start reducing restrictions as more people became vaccinated. Prime Minister Morrison made these remarks as tighter restrictions took effect in Australia's largest city, Sydney. The federal government last month unveiled a 4-stage plan to relax restrictions once 70 to 80% of its 25 million people aged over 16 were vaccinated, with stringent lockdowns unlikely to be required. Western Australia and Queensland states, which are largely coronavirus-free, have flagged they may still maintain some restrictions even when vaccination targets are reached. New South Wales reported 818 cases today, with most of them in Sydney. The state premier urged people to focus less on cases and more on the immunisation rollout. While Australia has managed the pandemic better than many other developed countries, a slow vaccination rollout has taken the gloss off its early success. Nationally, 30% of people above 16 are fully vaccinated, while 52% have had at least one dose. The target of 80% fully vaccinated is expected to be reached in December at the current rate of the vaccination drive. Australia has reported just over 44,600 cases in total. There have been 984 deaths, although the death rate has declined since last year. Meanwhile, more than 250 people protesting against coronavirus lockdowns in Australia have been arrested, and many others face fines for defying health orders. More than 20 police officers were treated for injuries after skirmishes broke out at some of the demonstrations last Saturday, which took place in multiple cities nationwide. The largest and most violent protest was in Melbourne.
The Colombo Magistrates Court has ordered the Colombo Crimes Division today to record statements from a detainee regarding an alleged death threat made on a petition by former Minister Rishad Badruddin, who is currently under detention. The order has been delivered by Colombo Additional Magistrate Rajendra Jayasuriya, according to a request made by Colombo Crimes Division. The police have told the courts that the complaint physician is engaged in treating detainees at a medical center of the Magazine prison. The prisoners have been informed that they will not be admitted to the room of the doctor due to the corona pandemic. However, suspects Rishad Badruddin was reported to have stormed into the room of the physician and launched a death threat on him. One of the assistants of the physician and another prison inmate were scheduled to be produced before the courts on the 25th of this month to give statements in this connection. The Department of Prisons is also conducting an investigation into the death threat launched against physician by Rishad Badruddin. The Colombo Magistrate Court today rejected bail applications seeking to release wife of Badruddin, her father and sister, as well as a broker who remains in custody over charges of burning to death a 16-year-old female servant engaged in services at the residence of Rishad Badruddin. The magistrate has expected a request made by Deputy Solicitor General Dilip Piris from the court to name Rishad Badruddin as the fifth suspect of this case. Accordingly, Magistrate Rajendra Jayasuriya has instructed the Superintendent of the prison to produce the suspect before courts on the 6th of next month. The magistrate said the report pertaining to the second post-mortem inquiry on the dead child has been received by the courts. Deputy Solicitor General Dilip Piris has studied the report.
The Guruvela model farm in Lanka has been successful in receiving a bounty harvest of vegetables by using only organic fertilizer in the cultivation. The farm says that the application of organic manure has not only led to a successful harvest, but also minimized the crop damages from insects. The model farm has been set up under the Moragahakanda and Kaluganga reservoir projects. Many types of crops needed for daily consumption have been cultivated in an extent of half an acre of land. The farm was able to reap a bountiful turmeric harvest, which brought a substantial revenue last season. The farm is also actively engaged in manufacturing compost fertilizer. Another significant task in the manufacturing process of manure is the utilization of caterpillars. Other refuse ingredients, including cattle, goat, and other animal refuse, are also being used in the production. Necessary medical equipment and sanitary towels were presented to the Lady Ridgeway Children's Hospital today under the Muthuhara Satvara program introduced by the Sri Lanka Rupavahini Corporation. Chairman of the SLRC, Reginald Kure, has presided over the event at the corporation's Assembly Hall. The program has been conducted under the full sponsorship of the Muthuhara International Children's Societies. The equipment were provided by the Ottawa 2610 Muthuhara Children's Society of Canada. The Muthuhara Television Children's Society of Milano, Italy has supplied the sanitary towels. Coordination activities of the Ottawa Muthuhara Children's Society of Canada was conducted by Ruani Vijay Vikrama.
අති විශාල ප්‍රමාණයක් රූපවාහිනී සංස්ථාව දායාද කරන ලද කුසලතා හිමි පරිපූර්ණ කලාකරුවන් හා ශිල්පී. ඒකට
Chairman of the Sri Lanka Rupavahini Corporation, Reginald Kure, said that among all media networks in Sri Lanka, the SLRC is regarded as the maternal media institute. He had added that a large number of media personnel currently engaged in the electronic media in Sri Lanka have been produced by the Sri Lanka Rupavahini Corporation. He further said that the Muthuhara Children's Society has been an important section that has given prominence to produce a group of artists filled with skills.
That's it for tonight's English News Update. Thank you for joining us. Good night.
Good night.